January 4, 1945. Luxembourg. Dawn light filters through the frosted windows of a requisitioned chateau, headquarters of the U.S. Third Army. The air is bitter cold, the kind that seeps into bones and turns breath to ice. Major General George S. Patton, the bold commander who orchestrated the daring relief of Bastogne just days earlier, stands alone by a crackling fireplace. He's a man revered as a tactical genius, a leader who inspires fierce loyalty in his troops. But this morning, a staff officer approaches with grim news. Reports have surfaced of a serious incident involving American soldiers and captured Germans. Details point to a reprisal action in the wake of recent brutalities. Patton, known for his pragmatic view of war's harsh demands, listens intently. In his private diary that day, he notes the event with characteristic bluntness, expressing concern but prioritizing the ongoing fight. What drove one of America's most celebrated generals to downplay such a report, hoping it could remain concealed? The answer traces back to the frozen hell of the Ardennes, where the Battle of the Bulge pushed soldiers on both sides to the brink, blurring lines in ways that still challenge our understanding of that pivotal campaign. The Battle of the Bulge erupted on December 16, 1944, as Hitler's final major offensive on the Western Front. Desperate to split Allied forces and capture the vital port of Antwerp, German armies smashed through thinly held American lines in the rugged Ardennes forests. Over 400,000 German troops, supported by tanks and artillery, caught the Allies by surprise. Many U.S. units were inexperienced replacements, rushed to the front after heavy losses in prior months. The weather was merciless, one of the coldest European winters on record. Snow blanketed the ground in deep drifts, temperatures plunged far below freezing, and relentless fog grounded Allied air support for days. Soldiers suffered terribly. Frostbite crippled thousands, claiming fingers, toes, and even limbs. Vehicles froze solid, weapons malfunctioned, and supply lines strained under the onslaught. In foxholes and makeshift shelters, GIs endured not just the enemy but the elements, wrapping feet in burlap and sharing scant rations amid constant shelling. This physical hardship was compounded by psychological strain. German infiltrators, elite commandos under Otto Skorzeny, donned captured American uniforms, spoke English, and sowed chaos behind the lines. They cut communications, redirected traffic, and spread disinformation. Checkpoints multiplied, with soldiers grilling each other on American culture, baseball stars, state capitals, to weed out imposters. Paranoia gripped the ranks. Trust evaporated overnight. For young Americans, many teenagers far from home, the war transformed from a distant cause into a visceral struggle for survival against an enemy that seemed everywhere. Back home, Americans held a firm belief in their moral edge. Propaganda, newsreels, and official briefings portrayed U.S. forces as defenders of civilization, adhering strictly to the rules of war. The Army's field manuals and training emphasized the 1929 Geneva Conventions, which the U.S. had ratified. These rules required humane treatment of prisoners, protection from harm, adequate food, medical care, and no coercion during questioning. Violations risked courts-martial under the Articles of War. Officers and chaplains stressed that America fought honorably, distinguishing itself from Axis brutality. Yet, the front line tested these ideals. The Germans included fanatical Waffen-SS units, known for fierce resistance and documented violations elsewhere in Europe. Tensions boiled over on December 17, 1944, near the Belgian town of Malmedy. A convoy from the U.S. 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion encountered advance elements of Kampfgruppe, a battle-hardened SS Panzer group led by Joachim Paper. Outmatched, around 120 Americans surrendered, expecting standard prisoner treatment. Instead, they were disarmed and gathered in a field at the Bognes crossroads. German forces opened fire with machine guns and small arms, killing 84 unarmed men. Some survivors played dead amid the fallen, later escaping to report the atrocity. News of the Malmedy Massacre spread like wildfire through Allied lines, fueling outrage and hardening attitudes. It became a rallying cry, but also a catalyst for reprisals. As the Bulge raged into late December, American forces regrouped. Patton's Third Army executed a masterful 90-degree pivot, racing north to relieve the encircled 101st Airborne at Bastogne on December 26. The famous "nuts" reply from Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe to a German surrender demand symbolized Allied defiance. Clearer skies finally allowed air superiority, pounding German columns. Yet, bitterness lingered. Informal words circulated in some units to show less mercy towards certain enemy formations. On January 1, 1945, during counterattacks near Bastogne, elements of the U.S. 11th Armored Division, a relatively new unit seeing heavy action, cleared the small village of Chenogne after intense house-to-house fighting. German defenders, including troops from regular Wehrmacht formations like the 3rd Panzergrenadier Division and Führerbegleitbrigade, were overcome. In the aftermath, a group of disarmed German prisoners, estimates vary from dozens to around 60 to 80 based on veteran accounts and later investigations, were gathered in a nearby field. Tragically, they were shot, an action that violated wartime conventions. Eyewitnesses, including soldiers like John Faig from the 21st Armored Infantry Battalion, later described the scene with regret, noting the emotional toll of the campaign. Reports of the Chenogne incident reached higher command, including Patton's Third Army. On January 4, Patton recorded in his diary, the 11th Armored had taken losses and also murdered 50-odd German prisoners. "I hope we can conceal this." His words reflect a commander's dilemma, maintaining morale and momentum in a critical phase while grappling with discipline. Patton, a student of military history who viewed war as unforgiving, prioritized victory and troop cohesion. Pursuing formal charges risked demoralizing a division still in combat, especially amid ongoing German resistance. No full investigation ensued under his watch. Post-war efforts by Supreme Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower were reportedly stalled by lack of cooperation and records. The Chenogne event remained obscured for decades, overshadowed by trials of German perpetrators at Dachau in 1946, where Paper and others faced justice for Malmedy. Declassified documents, veteran testimonies, and investigations, like a 2018 Reveal podcast drawing on oral histories and archives, brought details to light in recent years. Historians note it as one of several reprisal incidents during the Bulge, underscoring how extreme conditions could erode restraints on all sides. Yet, it stands apart from systematic Axis policies, highlighting isolated breakdowns amid broader Allied adherence to standards. Patton's decision added complexity to his legacy. Celebrated for aggressive tactics that hastened Germany's defeat, his army advanced rapidly across France and into the Reich. He embodied war's ruthless necessities. Private writings reveal a leader protective of his men, believing harsh choices preserved lives overall. The 11th Armored continued contributing to the Bulge's collapse by late January 1945, helping seal Allied victory in Europe by May. Today, sites like the Bastogne War Museum and Malmedy Memorials preserve these stories, offering balanced perspectives. They include contributions from diverse troops, such as African American units in logistics roles pushing integration forward. Educational efforts stress the Geneva Convention's importance, evolved post-war into stronger protections. Reflections on Chenogne and similar moments remind us that even justified wars exact moral costs, testing character under fire. The Bulge claimed over 19,000 American lives, the costliest battle for U.S. forces in the war, but turned the tide decisively. Additional layers emerge in research. Patton's famous improvised weather prayer for clear skies, circulated among troops for morale, the role of intelligence in countering infiltrators, and acts of humanity amid chaos, like medics treating wounded foes. These nuances enrich our view, showing resilience and restraint often prevailed. As the Battle of the Bulge ground on into January 1945, American forces pressed their counteroffensive with renewed determination. The relief of Bastogne had been a turning point, but pockets of fierce German resistance remained in the snowy villages and forests. One such clash unfolded on New Year's Day in the tiny hamlet of Chenogne, just a few miles from Bastogne. Elements of the U.S. 11th Armored Division, a unit fresh to heavy combat and still finding its footing amid the chaos, launched an assault to clear the area. The fighting was close and unforgiving, house-to-house clearances in sub-zero temperatures, with artillery thundering overhead and tanks maneuvering through deep drifts. By afternoon, the village was secured, and a group of German soldiers from units like the Feuerbegleitbrigade and the 3rd Panzergrenadier Division surrendered. Disarmed and gathered in a nearby field, these prisoners, estimates from veteran accounts and later historical reviews range from 60 to around 80, faced a tragic outcome. In a moment that reflected the raw emotions of the campaign, they were shot, a regrettable violation of the standards expected in warfare. Eyewitnesses from the 21st Armored Infantry Battalion, including soldiers like John Faig, later recounted the scene with somber reflection, describing machine guns being positioned and the prisoners marched to the site. These accounts, preserved in unit histories and oral interviews, highlight the intense pressures that could lead to such breakdowns in discipline. Reports of the incident quickly filtered up the chain of command within Patton's Third Army. On January 4, 1945, General Patton himself noted it privately in his diary, referring to the 11th Armored Division's actions and expressing a pragmatic hope that the matter could remain low profile amid the push toward victory. Patton, ever the realist about combat's demands, viewed the division's aggressiveness as vital at this critical stage. The unit was green, having suffered losses while learning the harsh lessons of armored warfare, and he prioritized maintaining their momentum against a still dangerous enemy. Higher up, Supreme Allied Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower called for an inquiry into the reports. However, practical challenges, rapid unit movements, the end of major hostilities approaching, and limited cooperation, meant no formal investigation or proceedings materialized. Unlike the well-documented Malmedy case, where German perpetrators faced trials at Dachau in 1946 with convictions for many involved, the Chenogne event faded from official records at the time. It became one of those shadowed chapters, whispered among veterans but not publicized. In the decades that followed, the full story emerged gradually through declassified archives, veteran testimonies, and dedicated research. Investigations like the 2018 Reveal podcast, Take No Prisoners, drawing on interviews with survivors and military records, brought renewed attention. Historians today place Chenogne in context as an isolated incident amid the broader Allied effort, which overwhelmingly adhered to humane standards despite provocations. It stands in contrast to more systematic violations elsewhere, serving as a reminder of how extreme conditions, freezing cold, constant threat, and the shock of atrocities like Malmedy could strain even disciplined forces. The 11th Armored Division pressed onward, contributing to the collapse of the German salient by late January. Their advance helped encircle remaining enemy forces, paving the way for the Allies to cross the Rhine and drive into Germany itself. Casualties in the Bulge were staggering. Over 19,000 Americans killed, the highest toll of any U.S. battle in the war. Yet, it marked Hitler's final gamble failing spectacularly, hastening the end in Europe by May 1945. Patton's legacy, too, carries these nuances. Revered for his daring leadership, the lightning thrusts across France, the pivotal role in the Bulge, he was a commander who demanded aggression while grappling with war's moral weight. His private writings reveal a man protective of his troops, believing that tough decisions preserved more lives in the long run. He passed away in December 1945 from injuries in a car accident, never seeing the full post-war reckoning. Today, memorials across Belgium honor the sacrifices and lessons of those bitter winter weeks. The Martisson Memorial near Bastogne, a striking star-shaped monument, commemorates American forces with inscriptions of unit names and states. Nearby, the Bastogne War Museum offers immersive exhibits, recounting stories from all sides with balance and depth. At the Bognez Crossroads, site of the Malmedy tragedy, a solemn memorial stands amid the quiet fields, remembering the 84 Americans lost there. These sites draw visitors seeking to understand the human cost. They feature artifacts like frozen helmets, personal letters home, and reconstructed foxholes, bringing the era vividly to life. Educational programs emphasize the evolution of international laws, with the Geneva Conventions strengthened post-war to better protect prisoners and civilians. Contributions from diverse American troops, including African American units in vital supply roles, pushing toward greater integration, add layers to the narrative. Reflecting on events like Chenogne and Malmedy, we see war's profound complexities. Acts of heroism coexisted with moments of tragedy, resilience with regret. Many soldiers showed remarkable restraint, aiding wounded enemies or safeguarding captives under fire. The Bulge tested everyone, Yet the Allied cause prevailed through collective resolve and ethical foundations that, though strained, endured. Additional details enrich the picture. Patton's circulated weather prayer for clear skies, which arrived to enable devastating air strikes, the ingenuity of GIs improvising with captured gear, intelligence efforts countering infiltrators. Oral histories from veterans reveal quiet acts of kindness amid the hardship, sharing rations, medical care across lines. Ultimately, the Battle of the Bulge wasn't just a military victory, it was a testament to endurance. As white crosses row European cemeteries, they remind us that freedom's defense demands vigilance against war's darkest impulses. By studying these stories openly, we honor all who served, drawing wisdom to prevent such shadows in the future. The men of 1944–45 faced the abyss and held the line, their legacy a call to pursue peace with the same determination they brought to the frozen Ardennes.